Good morning, and thank you all for joining the Zoho Flow webinar. I'm Jenny, and I'm with the Zoho Flow support team. Today, we will be discussing a few workflow ideas to streamline the sales and marketing operations by integrating through Zoho Flow. So before we begin, I have a few housekeeping rules. The audience will be on mute by default, and you can raise any questions that you have through the questions tab on the left, and we have our product expert who will be answering these questions throughout the session. I also request you to participate in the polls and questions that will come up on your screen from time to time, and you will be receiving a recording post this session. So today's agenda would be we will be seeing what are the benefits and why it is crucial to integrate the sales and marketing teams. And we also have a few use cases that we can discuss, and we will be building the same in Zoho Flow. Also, we have a few workflow ideas that you can implement in your organization, which we will also discuss. And in the end, we will have a few question and answers that we can take part in. So before we begin, let's talk about why an integration is crucial. So in today's fast-paced environment, sales and marketing teams rely on multiple apps to manage leads, to nurture prospects, and to close deals. But however, when these apps operate in silos, it leads to inefficiencies such as you miss follow-ups, you miss the sales opportunities, and also it leads to poor customer experience. So by integrating applications, you can automate workflows, ensure there is real-time data synchronization, and you can also enhance the customer engagement. For example, let's say a lead fills out a form. With an integration in place, the lead will get instantly synced to CRM, triggers an automated email sequence, and also an alert is sent through a messaging channel like Click or Slack. But without an integration, if a new lead fills out a form, the sales team only gets notified after hours, which delays the response time. So to avoid this, we need an integration in place, and this is where Zoho Flow comes into place. One platform for all your integration needs. Now, how does Zoho Flow work? As I was saying, Zoho Flow is an integration and automation platform that connects your business applications to streamline processes without any manual intervention. So Zoho Flow also allows different apps to communicate seamlessly, ensuring there is real-time data transfer across sales, marketing, customer support, and more teams. So Zoho Flow works through the trigger and action-based system. So when a trigger event occurs in one app, Zoho Flow automatically performs actions in other connected apps. After which we can also include logic elements such as decisions. We call decisions as conditional branching. When a set of rules is satisfied, another set of actions can be performed. We also have other logic elements such as delays, custom functions, and set variables. By automating workflows using Zoho Flow, businesses can eliminate inefficiencies and focus on what truly matters. So the benefits of automating sales and marketing teams is that you can automate repetitive tasks such as data entry. You can also reduce the time spent on manual handoffs between teams. And you can also allow your team to focus on high value tasks such as closing deals. And leads can also get instant responses through automated emails. So there will be a poll coming up in your screens, and I request you all to participate in the poll. Now let's move on to discussing a few use cases. The first use case today we have is the lead management. Now, how can we manage leads efficiently? For example, let's say we have a form, we have a lead inquiry form or a customer feedback form that our leads are submitting, and once the lead details are collected in a form, we need to enter these lead details in CRM. And also, these lead details should go to the respective sales team based on a condition. Instead of manually entering the details in CRM and manually sending a chat in Zoho Click or Slack to the respective sales team, we can automate this task through Zoho Flow. Let's see how this can be done. So when you log into Zoho Flow, this is where it takes you to the My Flows page. Whatever flows that you create in your organization will be listed here. So you can create a flow by clicking on the Create Flow option here, or also you can create a flow by clicking on the plus sign. So I'm creating a flow here and I'm naming my flow Forms to CRM and click. You can also choose to put all your flows in a folder and give a short description about the flow and then click on Create. So these are the 6 triggers that we support for Zoho Flow. But for my use case here, I'm going to select the application trigger so that it triggers when an event occurs in a particular app. The app that I'm going to use is Zoho Forms. So I'm clicking on Configure and I'm searching for my trigger application, which is Zoho Forms. I click on Zoho Forms and I click on Next. So the triggers that we support for a particular application will be listed here. If there is any trigger that you'd like to have, but it's not listed here, then you can always request for a new trigger. You can type in the name of the trigger along with the use case as to why the trigger is needed and then click on Submit. The request automatically comes to us and we will check the possibilities and add the trigger. So searching for my app again here since I went back. And so whenever the form is submitted, I need the flow to trigger. So I'm clicking on the entry submitted new version trigger and I'm clicking on Next. And the crucial thing about Zoho Flow is that you need to create connections. So in order to bring out the data to Zoho Flow, a connection has to be created. So I click on New here and I name the connection. Once you name the connection, you select all triggers or actions or only specific triggers or actions and then click Authorize. Once you click Authorize, it will take you to a form page where you need to accept the conditions. So I already have a connection here, so I'm going back to using the same connection. So all the connections that you have created for the app will be listed in this drop-down. So I'm using the already existing connection and I'm choosing my form here. So my form is client information. So I'm going to Zoho form. Just want to show the form. This is the form that I have. It's a very simple lead information collecting form. So going back to Zoho Flow and choosing client information form, and I click on Done. So this is the builder page. So this is where you will be adding actions or logic elements. So now let's go back to the use case. So now that I've configured the trigger, what I have to do is I have to create a lead in CRM. So whenever this form is submitted, a new lead has to be created. So in order to do that, I need to add an action from Zoho CRM. So on the left, there's it's where I will be searching for my applications. So I'm clicking on CRM and The number of actions that we support for CRM will be listed here. So I'm dragging and dropping the create module entry action. As I've stated already, we need to create a connection for each application that we are trying to use within Flow. So here as well, I'm using the connection that I already have. And since I'm going to create a lead, I choose the module as lead. So all the fields that you need to map will be listed here. And on to the right, you see an insert variable option here. And if you click on the trigger, it will list all the trigger variables here. So whatever field that is marked in red are called mandatory fields, and you have to make sure that the mandatory fields are mapped and also the necessary fields that you'd like. So I click on the relevant field and I click on the relevant variable and the data mapping automatically appears. So I can also search for the variable here. If I need a first name, I search for it and I click on it and the mapping automatically appears. Same way for the last name as well. And for full name, we'll be giving the last name and also first name. So I need an email, phone number, okay, so I don't need any other details. So once I've mapped the fields, I click on done. So now this action will create a lead in CRM. Now going back to the use case, the next step is that we need to notify the respective sales team that a new lead is added so that the sales team can contact the lead and take further action. Now, how do we do this? So we have to use a logic here, dragging and dropping a decision. So this is the logic tab where you have the logics that we discussed earlier, delays, conditional branching, set variables, and also we have custom functions here and notifications just send mails. So for our use case, I'm using a decision. So in Zoho Click, I have 3 channels called the Indian sales team, Brazil sales team, and Australian sales team. So it's like my business has 3 sales team, and based on the region that the lead is from, each of these sales team has to be notified. So for this, I'm using a condition, and based on the country that the lead is from, the sales team has to be notified. So if country equals India, then the Indian sales team has to be notified in Click. So I'm naming this condition as India region. And I'm adding another condition. Click on done. And I'm naming this condition as Australia region. Now I'm going back to apps and I'm searching for Zoho Click. And again, these are the supported actions in Zoho Click. And I'm dragging and dropping the message in channel action because we need to send a message in channel stating that a new lead is added. So again, a new connection has to be created with Click and I have to choose the channel. So for the first one is the India region. So I'm selecting the India sales team and I'm typing in a message. Hi team, a new lead is added. First name, last name, email address, and the phone number so that they can contact the lead. Please reach. So first name, searching for my variable here again in the right side. First name, last name, email address, and the phone number. Excuse me. So now the message is done. We click on done and we have to add the same action to the Australia region as well. All we have to do is go to this action and you see the three dots here. There will be two options to clone or to delete the actions. I'm clicking on clone. So this will make sure that the action is already configured. We just need to make a few changes to it. So I'm clicking the edit button and I'm going to just change the channel name to Australian sales team and click on done. So now that our flow is done, most important thing is to switch it on. The flow is switched on. Now I go to Zoho Forms and let's see. And if I submit the details, let's see if it's creating a lead and if it's sending a message in the sales team. Okay, I'm selecting the products that I'm interested in. Click on submit. Okay, now let's go back to Zoho Flow. Check the history for the completed execution. As you can see, flow has completed. So here in the history, the list of executions will be listed here. And we have the filter here. You can filter your execution by statuses or also by the date range. So now I click on this execution. So I can see that all the actions has executed correctly. Now let's see if the lead is added in Zoho CRM. So I refresh the leads module. Okay, so the lead that I have added here through Zoho Flow is listed here. So I go back to click and the sales team has also received a message with the details. And this is how you can manage leads in your organization. So now let's move on to discussing another use case. Okay, so now how can we synchronize data between multiple platforms? Now let's say you are maintaining a camping list in MailChimp and we need to update if something happens, if a contact unsubscribes or subscribes in that campaign list, you need to maintain those data in other applications as well. For example, if a contact unsubscribes from a campaign list, the same lead has to be that's maintained in Zoho CRM should also be marked as lost lead. And also the sales team has to be notified in through click or any messaging channel that this is a bounce lead so that they can undo any further contact. Now let's see how we can do this. Going back to Zoho Flow, and I'm creating another flow, and this is between MailChimp to CRM and click. I click on create, and I'm again using the app trigger, and the app that I want to use is MailChimp. Click on next, and for MailChimp, these are the number of triggers that we support. Subscriber unsubscribe from list. So this will trigger when a subscriber unsubscribes from a selected list. I click on this, and I'm already using the connection that I have, and I select the list in MailChimp. Once this is done, I click on done and take it to the builder page again. Let's go back to the use case. So we need to mark the lead as unsubscribed in CRM. So in order to mark an already existing lead, I need to first fetch the details of that lead. So in order to do that, I'm searching for my app here, so CRM, and I'm using an action called fetch module entry. So I drag and drop this action. I choose the module as leads. And in order to fetch the particular lead, I need to fetch it through a unique value. And that value would be email. So I search for the email variable here and I map it accordingly. And I click on done. So now that I've fetched the lead, I need to update the particular lead. So I'm using the update module entry action, dragging and dropping it to the builder, and I'm selecting the modules as lead. In order to identify that lead, I have to provide the unique ID. So which is the entry ID here. So I map the entry ID and search for a field called lead status. Okay. So whenever a contact unsubscribes, I need to mark this lead status as lost lead. So I select lost lead from the drop-down and I click on done. So now once this is done, I need to notify the sales team that this is a lost lead. So I drag and drop the messaging channel action. So we have a specific channel here called lost lead update. So whenever a lead is lost, this channel will be notified so that the sales team can undo any contact further. So I'm typing a message here. It's a lost lead by I. So I'm giving the sales team the basic details that they need. Click on done. So once this is done, I switch on the flow. I go to MailChimp and I click on the contact and I try to unsubscribe it. So I've unsubscribed the contact. Okay. Now I go back to Zoho Flow, check the history, and I can see a completed execution here. Now let's go back to CRM and check if the lead is marked as lost lead. So this is the lead. It should be marked as lost lead. Yes, so the lead status shows here as lost lead. So let me go to click and I have the channel here, lost lead updates. So I can see this channel has received a message with the details of the lost lead. And this is how you can synchronize any information between your different marketing and sales platforms. Now we have a few other use cases. We have a few other use cases that we'd like to discuss. Now let's see how we can automate support follow-ups. So now how can we handle when a ticket is escalated? Like what steps can we take to make sure that the customer is satisfied with the solution that we have provided? So this use case involves Zoho Desk, Zoho Email, and Zoho Survey. So when a support ticket is escalated, so that would be our trigger here, Zoho Desk, and we can send an email to the customer, like a follow-up email saying that the ticket has escalated and our senior team members of the team are looking into it. And mostly when a support ticket is escalated, we tend to handle them as soon as possible. So we wait for 3 days and be sure that the ticket will be handled within 3 days itself, and then send a survey link through Zoho Survey or any other survey apps to get the customer feedback. Now for this automation, let's see how I've created this in Zoho Flow. So I'm going back to Zoho Flow. Name this flow as automated support. Going to the builder. So I've used the ticket status updated as the trigger. So let me see what I have configured here. So in Zoho Desk, so when the ticket status says escalated, I want this flow to trigger. So once that is done, I'm sending an escalation acknowledgement to the customer that we have escalated this to a higher level and our senior team members are working on it. And that's the body of the message. And then I'm delaying the workflow. So here I'm using a delay logic where I'm delaying the workflow for 3 days. So I've typed in the duration here. And then I'm sending a customer feedback survey where the customer can leave a feedback with us. So the benefits of this automation is that proactive communication can strengthen the customer relationship. You can also improve customer satisfaction. And we can also reduce the manual effort by automating repetitive tasks. Let's move on to our next use case. Or how can we automate some thank you emails or onboarding emails after a purchase is done? Now, let's say we have an app called Shopify or WooCommerce where a customer is placing an order. So when you place an order, we always send an email just saying thank you for placing an order. And then we also send an onboarding email following our thank you email. Now, how do we automate this? Without manually doing this task, we can automate through Zoho Flow. Now, the apps that's involved here is Shopify and Zoho Campaigns, and we're also using a delay logic. Now, let's see how we have set this up in Flow. and name this flow as Shopify to campaigns. And I'm using an order created trigger here. So this will trigger the flow whenever an order is created in Shopify. And I also have two campaigns that I've set up in Zoho campaigns. One is for sending a thank you email, and another one is for sending an onboarding email. So this action will send the selected campaign, and I'm delaying the workflow for 3 days. So after which an onboarding email is also sent through campaigns through this action. So what can you expect when you automate such tasks? So automated onboarding emails provide helpful resources, and you can also eliminate the need for manual follow-ups. So you're allowing your team basically to focus on more strategic tasks here. So the final use case that I'd like to discuss is the lead follow-up. Now, let's say a lead is added in CRM and the sales team is not notified through a channel. And what if it's unattended? So when a lead is unattended, then the lead follow-up is also unattended, and there is a lot of issues that's being caused. So to automate this task, we can introduce a delay logic and to check if it's unattended for 7 days, and then notify the sales team so that the sales team can carry out in doing the next steps. So with these workflow ideas, you can go back to your teams and try automating simple manual tasks that you can do on a daily basis. You can start with simple tasks, and based on the results that you get, you can try automating more complicated tasks. So we really hope that you save ample amount of time and also reduce manual effort by using Zoho Flow as an integration platform where all your integrations can stay in one place.